first Friday of 2025. I am Janice Kaye, and I am here to take you on a journey today. So we're doing things a little bit different than our regular First Fridays, but I think this year is going to be a little different. So we thought we'd start it off in a similar way to get us all prepared for a very interesting year. And as always, we do our coherence moments, and Alexander is in the car. However, he will still do our coherence moments. So thank you, Alexander. And the mic is yours.
I'm very coherent in my car today, and I'd love to get more coherent. So let's do this one in a proper manner. Let's all of us just sit back and relax for a moment. And let's all just engage one deep breath in and out. Let's engage a second deep breath. And a third. And now just engage rhythmic, long and deep breaths. Find a rhythm that suits you and engage in longer, deeper breaths. And find that rhythm and enjoy the breath. And now focus on the area in and around your heart. Imagine there's an open channel in your heart. And engage your breathing in and out through the heart as a metaphor. Just imagine you're breathing in and out through that heart space. And feel the shift that comes with a focus on the heart. And finally, activate a genuine feeling of appreciation or care or love or gratitude for someone, some place, something in your life. Really feel that feeling and breathe it in and out through your heart space. Okay. Come back into the room. Take one last deep breath. Great. I'll hand it back to Janice. Thank you.
So I am thrilled to introduce you to somebody whose journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. It's my dear friend, Murray Hidary. So Murray is a multidisciplinary creative visionary, a tech pioneer, acclaimed composer, musician, and photographer. He has consistently pushed the boundaries of what's possible with art, technology, and human connection. From founding his first company at just 22 years old, when I first met him in the early 90s in New York City, to composing and performing deeply transformative music experiences, Murray's work has always created spaces for connection. So for example, as a creator of MindTravel, he has invited audiences on journeys that are provocative, healing, and transcendent, blending music, art, visual art in a sense of profound purpose. So beyond technology and music, Murray's adventures spirit shines through his pursuits of paragliding, climbing Mount Blanc, scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef. These endeavors reflect his love of exploration and a profound connection to nature. So whether Murray is studying theoretical physics or mastering ancient Zen music traditions, he always brings a blend of curiosity, creativity, and purpose to everything he undertakes. So our time with Murray today is slightly different than our regular First Fridays. So first, I'll engage with Murray interview style. And what I'm equally excited for is he will engage all of us in a brief mind travel experience, bringing music and mindfulness together with visual art and all improvised. And then afterwards, we'll come back for a Q&A. So the topic we're going to be interweaving throughout the conversation is one dear to my heart, and that is of purpose. Individual purpose, collective purpose of teams, and we may even touch on the purpose of all of us collectively as humans. So with that, I welcome Murray. So grateful to have you with us.
Hi, Janice. Great to be here with everybody.
So Murray, you and I met back in the 90s when we were both stepping into the tech world. Now, you weren't a programmer or a tech guy, right? You co-founded a tech company. What was it that drew you to doing that? What are your passions and how did it align with your purpose at that time?
It was quite the unexpected turn. I grew up playing music since I was 5 years old. I knew by the time I was in high school I wanted to be a composer. I felt like I had my own thing to say with music. Throughout my childhood, throughout my teen years, music was always this constant companion, if you will. Um, I was a pretty shy person, young person, and music just provided that language in which to. It was just a much easier way for me to express myself through music than any other way. And in university, I studied classical composition and piano, and then when I graduated at 21 and change, 22, I was like, okay, how am I going to make money with classical music? I didn't want to go into writing jingles for television. I had met folks who did that, and I would ask them, so when's the last time you wrote your big symphony, and what are you working on? And they're like, what are you talking about? There's no time for that. Like, you're on deadlines all the time, and writing these things that were, paying the bills, were lucrative, but not kind of the music they wanted to write. And I kind of felt like that was this kind of diabolical deal with the devil that they were engaged in. And so I just wanted to separate out kind of music for its own purity for what I wanted to write, and then find another way to earn a living. And that was my mindset at that age of 21, 22. I taught music for a little while. I taught students, kids, adults, and I was like, that's not going to get me around the world. That's it's going to take me only so far. And then in talking with my older brother, who was the computer geek of the house, Jack well, and when I was in music camp in summers, he was in computer coding camp. So that gives you a sense of kind of the two of us. And he was at the time working for the NIH, and he got to see in the early 90s the internet used in the government, academia, medical research, databases being shared. He showed it to me. We didn't know where it was going to go, but it was so exciting. And I think what it brought out in me, the excitement, was connection. And that's the value that underlies why I love music so much, because music allows me to connect first and foremost, most deeply with myself. And by doing that, it allows me to connect with others and really with the whole universe. That is the role that music plays for me. It embodies the underlying value of connection. But here's this totally different thing, right, called the internet in its earliest of stages, 93, 94. And it also embodied profound human connection. And that's what really drew me in. And I barely knew how to turn a computer on, but I was a quick study. And, at the time, like, who was an expert? Nobody was an expert, right? I mean, if you were playing with it for more than a week, you were suddenly an expert. And so, that's how it all started. We didn't know. I mean, it was before any of these, any of the IPOs, before anyone knew that it would become what it, of course, ended up being. But it was just an exciting path to take, and we just jumped, headfirst. We come from an entrepreneurial family, and our grandfather came here with nothing at 15 years old. Landed on Ellis Island, and built the family, on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So we know we come from that kind of risk taking and building.
So you mentioned that what you were doing in the 90s was not going to take you around the world. So that must have shifted because recently, relatively recently, you went to Antarctica in one of the most remote and extreme environments on the earth, and you performed the first ever piano concert there. I think that's over the top amazing. Can you share with us some visuals of that? And how did that connect with your
Sure.
purpose?
Okay. You can see that?
Love that. Yes.
Okay.
So that's
So yeah, I mean,
you on your
that
own,
is
but I know
me.
you have a bunch of people around you.
That's right. I was invited to join an expedition of about 150 people. We took over this ship, this ice-breaking ship, down there, and the first day that we were set to go on land after crossing the Drake Passage, which is a 2-day ocean crossing, quite a roller coaster ride, actually. Um, uh, I set up, along with a small group, the piano and all the equipment on Antarctica, which we had to itemize and get permission to bring, like every little thing, everything you bring on, you must take off. Like, it's very strict rules there. The fact that we got permission to do this was quite remarkable. And we set it up. It's about 7 in the morning when things were calm, and then just a couple hours later, everybody came on shore in the Zodiacs, about 150 people, and the first thing they heard was this piano as a soundscape to this vast, beautiful, um, landscape. And I should mention that throughout those years of building tech companies, I always maintained that tether to what I loved most, which was the piano and music and expressing through music. And even in my office, in our office on Park Avenue, overlooking all of Manhattan, I had a baby grand piano in my office. And at the end of every crazy startup day, I would just sit at that piano and play and just find a way to reset for the next day. All the fires, all the craziness, all the madness of those days, and be fresh for the next day by just kind of playing it out of me the night before. And eventually I knew I wanted to go back to my music. I didn't know what that would look like, but finally I just drew a line in the sand and uh, and decided to just bring my private practice out into the world. And this is part of what that looks like, is creating these moments for folks. I'll show you the next one here. Let's see. There it is. Of course, I played in a tuxedo. There were about 200 penguins around me. I wore some thermal underwear. It was about 20 degrees. That's summer in Antarctica, by the way. Um, and I wore half gloves on my hands to play, and my fingers nearly fell off. There I am for one of the performances, and the audience was just scattered throughout the landscape and taking it in, having their own moment there. So yeah, uh,
Can you?
this is more typically what it looks like on warm beaches. At a beach near you, that's what it more typically looks like.
So if I remember correctly, you're not allowed to play live music on Antarctica due to
That's
um,
right.
avalanches and stuff. So can you just explain a little bit how that was done?
Yeah, the authorities that be kind of you can consider Antarctica to be kind of like a national park like an international park, and they don't want amplified music because it might interfere with wildlife development, wildlife behavior. So that's the main reason. So, well, it turns out that I do all my concerts via headphones, so that the sound is extremely intimate and direct. You can see me wearing the headphones there, and when we do concerts, hundreds of people are all wearing headphones so that they can have a very intimate experience of the sound. So it was a perfect solution, and that enabled us actually to do it on Antarctica, as well as many other places. Here's a Here's a concert at the pyramids of Giza we did last year. So many kind of radical places that we're able to bring this to, based on that.
So again, thinking about the team that you had to assemble to come with you
Yeah.
to all of these places, what is the common purpose that you all have motivates you all to be a team and function as a team?
Yeah. I should mention it was quite funny. One of the attendees of the Antarctica trip is a famous adventurer. His name is Colin O'Grady, and he has the record for the fastest ascent of all seven peaks around the world. He also has many other records of incredible feats. And when we're at this one spot that I showed you in the photo where the piano was to perform, we actually saw a better spot kind of up on this hill of ice, and and then I was like, Colin, we got to get this piano up there. Like, it was well, a couple hundred feet, up this small hill. And he mobilized everyone. We all got around the piano and carried the whole piano up to this spot, led by Colin O'Grady, this like world record adventurer carrying my piano up to this hill. It was quite remarkable. Just even witnessing that, I was like, how is this even happening? But when we're not in Antarctica, which of course that was a remarkable feat, but just generally, we have a pace of we do about 140 live concerts around the country each year. So there's quite, a schedule, and they're all out in nature pretty much. And so we deal with elements, we deal with, all kinds of issues. We have to power the whole thing ourselves. So there's nowhere to plug in on a beach. And so we bring, these arrays of batteries, and they're all solar powered. So we have these solar panels out on the beach and, powering our shows. And there's a whole, involvement of technology that's part of it. And, and then, the team that, comes with me from stop to stop, driving, and we're eating together, and we just all these elements. The key, I think, to having a cohesive team, certainly for what we do, where you you really share the vision, but the vision is held fully by each of the team members. So it becomes an expression for them as well. When they're setting it up, when they're welcoming people, to the event, not just by being, helpful and of service and asking what our team, members need. Yes, service leadership is great, awesome. But at the end of the day, like, do they want to be there? And do they actually feel the mission? Is our mission also aligned with their mission in life? Maybe not to the same extent. I'm the founder of it, I'm the creator of it, and I have my own motivations. But does it really resonate with kind of what's important to them?
Awesome. Thank you. So I went to one in Central Park. So they're right, they're not all remote. So the one I went to last year was in Central Park. And what was so moving for me, besides the performance, obviously, was at the end of it, you asked people to come up to a microphone and to
Yeah.
share something about what moved them. And wondering how that has an impact on you and the team in terms of purpose. There you go.
Yeah, that's one of the Central Park ones at
Yep.
some point. Yeah, that's up at the mic. There you go. Yeah, I find it to be a very important to at the end. I do an introduction, I welcome people, I kind of set the stage, set the tone for the evening, and then the experience is nonstop. It's also an important element. For about 75 minutes, it's uninterrupted music, so it allows people time to drop in, to really settle the mind, um, and allow those defenses from the day to ease, and then their mind can go where it wants to go, and their heart can open a little bit more because those defenses have come down, those walls have come down. By the end, they've opened enough to then feel comfortable to come up and share. They recognize the circle which we're all in with the piano as a safe space, as a permissive space. There's an allowing, and there's always a line of folks who want to come up and share their story, and it's an opportunity, as I say, to shift from just listening to being heard, to being seen, and and what ends up being expressed is just remarkable. My favorites are always the kids. Um, they're often the first to run up to the mic, and it's not it's not like, oh, just kids getting up there giggling and running away. That happens on occasion, and that's adorable. But most profoundly, it's the 8-year-old, the 12-year-old, who gets up and in complete earnestness, like the most serious of faces, will say, you know, this was the best night of my life. I feel so peaceful. Um, they will just share what's going on for them. I had a really hard week in school. They'll share these other details. Um, and you could just see it in their whole being of how it's moved them. And we tend to not, typically not think of kids as what are they going through? Like, for most kids, they've got things taken care of. What could possibly be a problem in their lives? But there's the same problems we all have. They go through, their ups and downs. So how do they navigate that? How do they navigate the pressures? How do they navigate the, anxiety, which is quite present for them?
Thank you. Another event that I went to of yours, you were not center of attention, and it was
Mm.
incredibly moving. You're going to do much better at explaining it than I can, but if you can share what it was one of the most powerful, visceral teaming experiences I had ever witnessed.
So yeah, this was a residency that I had at MassMoCA, the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. It's the largest contemporary art museum in the country, up near Boston. And they gave us this 10,000 square foot theater that I converted into this installation where you see 60 speakers in a circle there with various lighting and effects and things like that. Well, that opening night, it looked like this. There were a 60-piece orchestra next to each speaker, and each one, playing their own music, all scored and interweaving. It's actually set up as 12 string quartets, quintets, 12 string quintets, so 60 players. And then the audience, as you can see, is in the middle and moving around, some of them lying down, sitting down, walking around in and out of the music, interacting with the musicians. Um, you could be 2 feet from the violinist, and then you can walk around and interact with the music as you need to. The piece was originally, conceived and written during the pandemic, and was really became this soundtrack of the ups and downs of that period of time. So it became a very cathartic and healing um, installation um, for folks. And this was, premiered in January of 22. And then it lives on as a sound installation. And so people were able to come, 6 times a day it would run. So sometimes there'd be 2 people there, and they would be able to have this intimate moment of healing and connection in the same space where there were just 400 people. So that was a really beautiful residency that we got to stage, and quite the undertaking. Um, Quite the undertaking there. You can see kind of all the details there of what went into that.
Absolutely beautiful. It felt like to me being in the middle of the circle when all the performers were around, and even when the speakers were around, that if you stood in an organization and feel the music everyone in that organization is playing, it felt like that.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of kids, during the pandemic, I would do kids virtual concerts
Oh,
to just because kids were home doing nothing. I was like, what can I do for kids? And then they would, I would send them printouts to draw while I was playing, and these kind of mindfulness drawing experiences, and then they would share them and send photos and things like that. So it was a lot of experimenting during that time.
one last question before we jump into something
Hmm.
equally as special. Um, so you've been a part of the tech world, and you've been a part of the deeply human world. So I'm going to sneak in
Mm.
a little question about AI. So there are a number of people who are wondering if AI is going to replace humans. And, how do you suggest we remind ourselves of what makes us truly human?
Yeah, a couple of things I'll say about that. The first is I hope robots and AI replace many, many humans. They'll be a lot better at us in many ways and many things. And I hope that happens, actually. Having said that, there are certain jobs, there are certain roles that I think are irreplaceable. Um, I mean, I take my own, for instance. I count myself quite fortunate that I don't think an AI robot, while they technically can probably play better than me at some point when that technology is available. Um, I think people want to see another human being expressing themselves, and I don't. I think that is just by definition irreplaceable. Um, Even if it is mimicked to near perfection, it'll be entertaining, and I would certainly go see a robot do that. But ultimately, I think I would want to feel another human being expressing themselves in all the ways that we do that. So, you know, I think that technology, I've always believed, I know, I'm sure you do too, many of us here believe that, technology is can be the ultimate liberator, can be the ultimate equalizer, can be the ultimate, um, conveyance of abundance for the world. And that takes work and it takes intention, and there's a lot of bumps along the way. I think we will be a generation, certainly, where there'll be many kind of casualties of that if we're not careful, and there already are. And um, there will always be a lot of pain as part of that growing process. So it's a question of how much of that can we ease, how much of that can we mitigate as society, as governments, as organizations, as communities, as friends. So it's a question of mitigation, but that train is moving, and it's moving fast. And I think it's up to all of us to figure out how do we incorporate this, and how do we express our humanity as boldly as we can.
And I think for all of us, it's the paying attention to language. You
Mm.
know, AI is not going to replace us. It may take on a job or a role that, we might not be, you know, we shouldn't be doing anyway, but it will never replace us because it could never feel what we're about to feel now, which is
Oh, I hope
the
so.
appreciation, the appreciation of music and art and soul. So with
Yeah.
that, before we open it up to Q&A, Murray is going to bring us, um, share a little brief mind travel, bringing music and mindfulness together. So with that, I, I give it to you, my friend.
Wonderful. Let's do it. I'm going to shift to the other screen.
Okay.
And I have my colleague, speaking of teams, I have my colleague Larry here, who's going to be operating the visuals, and it's a little production we've got for you. So now's the time. If you do have headphones, I definitely do recommend headphones. Small ones, big ones, just better than your computer speakers. So if you do have them, take a moment to grab them, put them on. Feel free to get comfortable. Feel free to kick back, grab a pillow, whatever you want. You can lie on the floor. There will be visuals, but they're additional. They're not necessary. If you want to close your eyes, feel the permission to do so. And with that, enjoy the ride, and I'll see you in the music. The wind. The wind blows it all away. The world can be so loud. It can all be so loud sometimes. It can be hard to hear the whispers. What happens? What happens when we slow it all down? To be the stillness. The stillness within all the movement. Can we empty ourselves? All the things that get in the way. Can we empty ourselves of the past? Can we empty ourselves of the past, the pettiness, the grind and the grudges? Can we create rather than compare? We only have right now. That's all we ever really have. The wonder, the mystery, the present moment is intimacy's domain. To be kindness when we've known cruelty. To be love when we've known loss. To heal when we've known heartbreak. We can only say thank you now. We can only forgive now. We can only love now. We can only love now. The simple things. The precious things. So fragile. So fragile. Yes, the world can be so loud. Can you hear the faint whispers? Your intuition, what is it saying? What arises within you? What lies within you that yearns to be heard? What will you create? Who will you create? Who will you be? The wind. The wind blows it all away. We'll take a moment, if your eyes are closed, to gently open them and come back to the group. And welcome back, everyone, wherever your mind travel took you. Thank you, everyone, for the comments. Beautiful. Much appreciated.
I'll just say, Marie, how much I appreciated your thoughts on purpose and mission and vision, and how when we bring that together and are unified with the people that are on our team, how powerful that can be. And thank you for evoking that with photos and story and sound.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm sure you're all familiar with the the Japanese term ikigai. If you're talking about purpose here, I'm sure that's come up at some point. You know, that beautiful Japanese term of, when you actually find that multidimensional Venn diagram, right, of what you love to do, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for, right? It's like when all those conspire, and so I know I'm very fortunate. I pinch myself every day that that has all aligned and come together. It took a while. It took a long time. It wasn't what I did when I was 20, but now it has been the case. But we all go through these journeys, and purpose is not always so aligned and present in all those ways. Whether we have to improve skills, whether we have to figure out how to market it, how to get the world to pay attention, how to monetize it. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, and we should give ourselves some forbearance here, some compassion for that journey. In the meantime, right, it is possible to involve ourselves in projects where it doesn't have to check every single box of our values list. It could check some of them, and it will be deeply fulfilling. And that's what I share with young people. Like, you're on this beautiful journey. Purpose is a process, it's an unfolding. And you can find purpose in many different chapters of your life in many different ways. And it could actually be viewed in this micro way where I like to talk about this idea of moment to moment purpose. You see, no matter what I do with the piano and mind travel and all that, if I'm walking down the street and there's a person that needs help crossing, it doesn't matter. No one can care less what my purpose is and what I do for a living. The purpose in that moment for me is to help that person across the street. That's the moment purpose that arises. And that's available to everyone. And that requires just a paying of attention. That requires just an awareness of like what's going on around me. What word, what conversation can I share with a friend or a colleague or a loved one that they might need to hear? Well, that's my purpose. That word, that conversation, that smile, that's my purpose in this moment. And that will change, right, moment to moment. So it's this moment to moment person. If we're listening sharp enough, clearly enough, we can hear the opportunities to show up with purpose.
It's been a joy, Murray, as always. I look forward to being there in person at your next concert. So thank
Yes,
you.
and you're all invited. I'm happy to give Janice a code to send around. If you're in a city near us, at some point, please do, and come up and say hello. Let me know you were on here, and we'll have a little reunion in all the different places we are. So please do find us in person or virtually.
So thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone. I wish you all an amazing 2025. Please reach out. I'll send you the code and love you all. Thank you.